And I'm out of focus. Of course I am. Every single time I want to start my show. There we go. All right. How's it going, Mets fans? Thank you guys all so much for chiming in for the latest live show here on the channel, guys. The Mets officially start their all-star break. We got Jeff McNeil, Starling Marte, Pete Alonso looking to become a three-peat home run derby champ. We'll see what transpires with him. That starts 8 p.m. Eastern time. Edwin Diaz and others, a bunch of Mets representing this year's all-star game, folks. But during this break, there's a couple things that stand out to me. It's one, the draft that's currently going on, that has gone on today. I'll be breaking down my initial reactions to the top 4 picks for the Mets, because normally with a draft, I'm looking at some of the top picks, especially with how deep an MLB draft goes. So I'll give my quick reactions and analysis on what the Mets did here through rounds 1 and 2. And then we'll be deep diving all the latest trade rumors. That's probably why you guys clicked on the stream. That's probably why you're watching live right now on replay. We'll be doing a complete open Q&A later in the show, folks. Like I said, this could go live upwards of an hour and a half all the way until the home run derby starts. And that's where I'm out of here. And then that is, again, where we're going to go. So a lot to talk about. We got trade rumors. Juan Soto, I did a video on earlier today. Make sure to check it out if you haven't already. Everyone and their mothers eating up that Soto content for breakfast, as you should. The fact that arguably the best player in baseball could actually find himself somehow, some way traded by time we get to the MLB trade deadline, which is August 2nd, less than 2 weeks away, is so hard to fathom. But what I do know is that we have a lot, and I truly mean a lot, to deep dive here on these rumors. And again, starting these off, we will be breaking down this draft. But before I get into anything, I want to thank you guys all so much for chiming in. People live on replay, you know what to do by now by making sure to smash that like and subscribe button, sharing this with your friends, on the notification bell. Let me know your thoughts in the comments here in the live show and on replay for my viewers especially. But let's just dive in. I want to do a quick roll call. How's it going, everybody? Andrew, how you doing, my man? Kish, how you doing? Great member of the channel. Andrew, also congratulations. You guys have been doing some great Mets content. I'm proud of you guys. Congratulations to you. Ocean Girl, Dirty, Matthew, and Sandy, great member. Let's see here. Jordan, Jack, great member. Dom, great member. Duran, how's it going? Lefty, Angel, T, Matthew, Chalk, Sonny. Going down the list further, Nicholas, JC, Jason, how you doing? Explosive. Appreciate everyone chiming in, guys. We're going to get that roll call in early and often. Ocean Girl, you're the best. How you doing? But let's talk about it, folks. A lot of deep dive in this one. And I got to say, guys, can we just take a moment to appreciate the fact that somehow, some way, regardless on if it leads to anything or not, the Mets are actually in trade rumors with Juan Soto. Now, am I surprised by that? No, of course I'm not surprised. Even if the Mets end up having zero shot at Soto, which is a lie, the Mets do have a shot at him. Cannot tell me otherwise. Does that mean Soto's a lock to land with the Mets? No, of course not. But what I will say is that even with it being an NL East rival, when you have someone that is as prominent on Juan Soto is, Mike Rizzo is not going to operate with the sake of it being strictly in the division that, I can't do it. This is not a Max Scherzer or a Trey Turner situation where Mad Max was a rental and could decide where he wanted to go based on his contract, and Trey Turner that only had 1 year left on his deal after last season. This is Juan Soto, who's, again, arguably the best player in baseball at the age of 23. So all Mike Rizzo and the Nationals care about, folks, I know this may be hard for you to fathom, all he cares about is the best package possible. Does not matter what that team is. All that matters is that he gets the best deal, in his personal opinion, to help address this Nationals team the best he can in this rebuild/retool. It's a rebuild, but we all know that if you trade a phenom in Soto, it's going to help speed up that process with some great young prospect talent and some great young controllable talent there on the team. But let's get into it, everybody. I see another couple of you guys in here as well. Scott, how's it going? Chris, Scotty, great member on the channel. Pete, Michael, Sky, I also did realize that you sent me a DM like a week ago. I'll check up on that again. My mistake, my man. Bill, Julio, Luis, Allen, my man Dave Kaplitz, how you doing? Scott H, great member. Appreciate every single one of you guys shopping in, guys. Continue smashing those buttons. But what I do know, again, that for the Mets, regardless of the fact that they're in the NL East, if the Mets find themselves with potentially the best package on the table and the best guarantee to be able to lock up Soto long term, it's not going to matter that it is the Mets at the end of the day. Soto's a Padre, we'll wait and see. The exact same way that Max Scherzer was a Padre at last year's trade deadline, right? Let's not toot our horn too much. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's wait, because last time I checked, Buster Olney is the same schmuck that said he would bet the farm on George Springer laying with the Mets 2 off seasons ago, and what happened? Anyone that is taking any word that comes out of Buster Olney's mouth to at any level of degree of seriousness, even if it's regarding the Mets in a positive manner, you cannot do it. That man knows just as much as a wall does behind me. Nothing is going on there. You wait for the Jeff Passes, you wait for the Ken Rosenthal's, and you wait for other more prominent sources, guys. From Hog, we love Hog. It's okay. I love Hog too. I know that he would literally sell his soul for Soto, and I wouldn't blame him. As would I. I would give up my arm, my leg, whatever they want. I mean, completely honest with you. Let me see, because of course my camera loves to go in and out of focus. Bear with me, guys. And then after rambling about Soto for a couple more minutes, we'll get into the draft. Then we'll get into more Soto talk. Then we'll get into all the reported connected players to the Mets, along with players that could be connected to the Mets over the next week and a half. Come on, camera, do your thing. I just love the fact that it decides to be in focus all day long when I'm prepping. But as soon as I want to go live and actually need my camera for something, it's going to say, hey, we're just not going to focus. There we go. How you doing? All right. So another thing I want Soto, folks, is we know that it's going to take a king's ransom to land someone like him. Mama Worm, how are you? Love you too. Appreciate you chiming in. We know that it's not going to be easy to land someone like him. However, the same thing goes for every other team. And it's going to be so exciting to see this build up. It's going to be nerve-wracking as all hell. Again, just the fact that I'm even talking about Juan Soto in the same breath as the Mets, with not even 2 weeks until this year's trade deadline, is more mind-boggling than I could ever begin to tell you, folks. And exactly, the only person that you should trust is Bob Nightingale, Richard. See, they know what they're talking about. Shout out to you, Richard. Jaden with the $5 donation. Let's address that quick. Then we'll get into talking about the draft, folks. And like I said, guys, if you have donations you'd like to send my way, thank you so much for that. But other than that, we're going to just deep dive, recap the draft, because the draft may go in hand with what the Mets do with their current prospects on the roster. And I would like to clarify something as well that I was unaware of, and that's apologies on me for just having lack of information. Again, I'm a content creator, not a know-it-all for a reason. But Jaden with the $5 donation says, steal of the draft, Bleav Tidwell will be a stud. Jet going to be great, maybe second base, and Parada is great as well. Good bat. Bleav will be a stud. I agree with you wholeheartedly on everything you just said there, Jaden. Thank you so much for that. Hype in the chat for Jaden with a $5 dono. What a beauty this guy is. Appreciate that. And Jaden is just spinning facts left and right. That's exactly what you're doing, Jaden, and I agree with you. Now, in case you guys aren't aware, Mets casually had in day one of the draft. Now, today I haven't deep dived all their picks yet, so I'll have to after the show. I'm focused on really their day one of their picks. My goodness gracious, what they were able to do was simply phenomenal. And again, I was not completely aware with this year's draft. I really did not have a clue what was going to go on. And Bill, I'll get to your comment when I get the chance. I just need to rant about the draft here. I really did not know what the Mets are going to do in this year's draft. And funny enough, the man that the Mets drafted last year that they ended up not signing because the schmuck did not want to show his medicals. He ended up having shoulder surgery in the offseason. A cough. Kumar Rocker going 3rd overall to Texas Rangers, back with his former teammate from Vandy. And yes, Al Leiter's son, Jack, they're going to be a stud duo. That's exciting for them in Texas. But what that did for the Mets was help move the draft in the Mets' favor here as their first draft pick. And again, I said it kind of jokingly, watch the Mets go and get Parada, and that means that Alvarez is going to get traded for Soto. And again, there is nothing to indicate that that will be the case, guys. Just because the Mets got a catcher and they already have the top catching prospect in baseball, that doesn't mean anything. However, what we do know is that Kevin Parada ended up being a stud pick for the New York Mets, a potential top 5 pick that they got all the way at 11. Parada is deemed as universally by all the major prospect players I've seen out there, either SNY Brace, Keith Law, and outside of that, they have all been under the same understanding that Kevin Parada was the best college bat available in this year's draft. This was originally a top catching prospect back in 2020 that would have been a strong first-round draft pick, but unfortunately for his sake, he ended up going to Georgia Tech and then coming back in a couple of years. That has ended up what transpiring here. In his sophomore year, had a phenomenal year with 26 bombs, over 300 average. And what we love about so much about Kevin Parada, folks, this is a kid, Cali native, but is someone that is coming from a phenomenal school that has done awfully well when it comes to their catching prospects. They have developed guys in Jason Varitek, Matt Leaders, and most recently Joey Bart this stud catching prospect from the Giants, who again has had an up and down start to his career this past season, but doesn't change the fact that they have a history of developing catchers. And now we have Kevin Parada, who looks like he very well might not be more than upwards of 3 years away from the bigs, maybe even sooner. And because of how developed his bat is, and now the Mets have the best catching tandem that they may ever have in their franchise's history. Should they both stay with the Mets? That is the biggest what if, right? It's should they both stay. We have no clue if these two are going to stay. Francisco Alvarez, Sandy Alderson said in a week or two ago on a podcast for the New York Post that Alvarez is going nowhere. I don't blame them. Alvarez is the top prospect in baseball for a reason. You do not trade a stud that is him with the amazing bat. But here's the thing. When we look at the Soto trade talks right now, and you look at how amazing the Mets did in their first couple rounds of this year's draft at minimum. We'll see how they did after that, because I haven't deep dived yet what they've done so far today and their other picks in rounds 3, 4, 5, etc. What I do know is that this only gives the Mets a better shot at landing Soto when giving up prospect capital. I said it time and time again, folks. This year's draft would be huge for the Mets if they do have any willingness to part with any top prospects, because they're building on their prospect pool at the same time simultaneously. They give up some, they're at least getting some right back in this year's draft. And now, while something that I was not familiar with until of recent, honestly last night, I'm just an idiot for that, I apologize. I, for whatever reason, thought you could trade prospects after this year's draft as long as they got signed, but no. Even if you get these prospects signed, this year's draft prospects cannot be dealt until at minimum after the World Series. So once the offseason begins, essentially. So that was something that was new for me. I was not aware of that. And I do apologize, because I have referenced in either streams or videos that the Mets, what they do at the draft, they could trade some of those prospects. They just can't do it by the deadline. That's the biggest thing. The earliest that they can do it is by the offseason, which is still sooner. Normally you have to wait until the following year, but you don't have to do that now this year. But going back to my talking point, is that the Mets get Kevin Parada, and I'm really excited about this kid. He turns 21 in August. That's nice. I'm exactly a year older than him, because I turned 22 in the end of August. But he's a guy that I'm pretty pumped up by. His slash line in his freshman season with 318, 379, 550. We're talking over right around 830 or so OPS with 9 home runs in 62 games. But then after that, he really bursted on the scene, as we saw there in his sophomore year, in the year he was drafted here for Georgia Tech. Had a phenomenal 361 average, a 453 on-base percentage, a 709 slug. I can't even do math right now, so I'm going to try to do it in my head. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This man literally had over 1,100 OPS for Georgia Tech this past year with 26 home runs, and that had an even walk-to-strikeout ratio of 30-32. This man's hand-eye coordination at the plate is phenomenal. And what I love is that even though Parada isn't known for having stellar defense as a backstop, he's someone that's so advanced with his bat, again, according to all these scouting reports in the small film that I've seen thus far, that he could propel himself fairly quickly in the Mets farm, awfully similar to someone like, Francisco Alvarez. So this is really exciting. The Mets, who have had such an abysmal catching position so far this season, folks, with James McCann, with Tomasino, with Patrick Mazeika, Patty Magic, Mazeika Magic, how you doing? I love the guy, but he is not meant for the MLB level. The Mets are building something now where they can go down a route of either trading one of these prospects. If someone's going to be dealt, I would be really surprised if it's Alvarez. However, the one anomaly is someone like Juan Soto, so it's a wait and see. I think the Mets can honestly do a deal without parting with Alvarez, but again, it's a fluid situation. We'll see what happens. But looking at this tandem a little bit further, folks, before I get to Jed Williams here, which I'm excited to talk about Jed too. He looks like a nice, fine young player. Is that this tandem is something that, correct me if I'm wrong, let me know in the live chat right now, everybody. Continue smashing that like and subscribe on the chat too. Thank you guys so much for the donations. I'll get to them soon. I want to know your opinion. What was the best catching tandem that you have ever witnessed the Mets have? Because what I see here in Kevin Parada, what I see here with Francisco Alvarez tells me that this has the potential to truly be the best tandem that we have ever seen. Look, we love Gary Carter the Kid. We love Mike Piazza, right? We love John Olerud during his short time with the Mets, right? We even love the Paulo Ducas of the world that were solid, among others. I mean, the Mets have had some decent, really strong catching history, but they really haven't had it paired together. At least nothing in my lifetime. So unless you guys can enlighten me right now in the chat, in the live show, what was the best catching tandem that you ever witnessed the Mets have? Please let me know. And then I want to see if we have any potential here. Parada, again, a top catching prospect already, the top catcher taken in this year's draft, the top bat taken in this year's draft per college, and overall, many believe that this was the most balanced and elite bat available as well. Whatever you guys think are, let me know. We're going back to Hodges. This is what I mean. You know how long ago that was? If that's the last time that the Mets have truly had a dominant catching tandem, their best in their history, then my goodness gracious, I love the chances of something changing. Josh Tully, yeah, Tully, the legend, for helping catch that no-hitter, right? But, yeah, I mean, look, I'm excited. Parada got me really hyped up. He seems like a great kid. Looks great in a Mets uniform. If he stays with the Mets, awesome. If he's dealt in the offseason, then there's obviously good reasons for it. But let's now get into Jed Williams, folks. Jed Williams is a fun name. Now, I got to be honest, I was hoping that the Mets were maybe going to go down a different route for Cam. Was it Collier or Collier? Potato. I don't know these prospects' names. Third baseman that ended up going the Reds. However, I was not upset with Jet after I was quickly put on to him, because Jed Williams looks like a really nice spark plug of a player, a guy that is so balanced. And according to Joe DeMayo, my buddy, would have loved to have him on today, but I know he's so busy covering all the prospects for us and why. Joe raved about Jed Williams and this pick from the Mets here, as Jet, yes, he's a shortstop, but Jed Williams is, in Joe's opinion, his favorite player of this entire draft. Now, Jed is small in stature. He's only around 5'8", $170. But Jed Williams has phenomenal tools and is someone that is projected to be a second baseman and or center fielder in his career. I love that. And look, Jed is a diehard Houston Astros fan. He models his game after Alex Bregman, trash cans aside. He has a build of a Jose Altuve type. I love that. He's literally comped to Altuve. He's comped to Bregman. Shift him over to second base. That looks like that could be Jeff McNeil's heir apparent, because remember, Jeff McNeil, guys, is a free agent in 2025. We'll see how long-term he is with the Mets, especially at second base. But it looks like the Mets may have drafted themselves their future second baseman here, which would further reiterate the expendability that there is with someone in Ronnie Mauricio, folks. Ronnie Mauricio, who's basically been expendable for the past 2 years since the Mets acquired that being in Francisco Lindor and locked him up to a 10-year deal, just became that much more expendable. And if I'm the Mets, if I'm being completely honest, Ronnie Mauricio's stock is dropping by the day. He is no longer in MLB's top 100 draft prospects that used to be just a year ago. So if I'm the Mets, if you're going to part with any top prospect talent, Mauricio has to be towards the top of that list for obvious reasons. But now more than ever, his value right now isn't as high as I think you could rightfully argue what it was a year ago. So take advantage when he still has strong value. I love Mauricio. I know he's big swing and miss, however, and I know he'd be awesome on the Mets, but there just isn't a fit for him right now. Jed Williams has a really strong promise, already has a potential higher ceiling than Mauricio does in his career. Many people are arguing that already from early reports I'm seeing. So Jed Williams, I love this pick for the Mets. He's going to be exciting for them too. He also is a Long Island native. Was there from the ages of 2 to 4, then had to move out of state because of his father and his work situation. But yeah, Jed Williams, love the name. He sounds like he's going to be a great ball player, and he utilizes his speed. That's what I like a lot about Jed. When you're going to be a short king, you got to have those wheels, and you got to be pardon me for the pun here, you got to be a jet. You got to be a speed demon. That's what Jed Williams is. Love his versatility. Love his bat to ball skills. He's a great contact hitter. Someone that can really come in and be a Swiss Army knife for the Mets. Can really be, in a lot of ways, a Jeff McNeil 2.0. I see potential there just from early comps that we're seeing. Literally, he is being discussed as compared to the likes of Alex Bregman, Jose Altuve, and Mookie Betts. Again, more smaller statured, great bats, great defensive ability there in the infield and around field, especially if someone like Jet moves from shortstop to center field in his career. So I really like that pick for him. I'm really pumped up when evaluating someone in Jed Williams and seeing what his future in the Mets organization is going to be. Really love that for them. Hold on, guys. Just bear with me 1 second, everybody. And guys, after I get through the last 2 picks, then I'm going to tell you something that's really going to increase your enticement, in my opinion, on this draft so far for the Mets. And all I got to say is the Mets stole so many guys in the first 2 rounds. The Mets might have all bias aside, the Mets may have come out of this year's draft as one of easily the best drafts of all teams in baseball this year. That's how dominant they were with their draft. That's exciting. I don't know how to watch the home run derby without ESPN. You could try a stream, which is either legal or illegal. I'm not condoning it. I would just say look them up. That would be the easiest way. I don't know what else would be broadcasted other than ESPN, unless it's on something like MLB Network potentially. Okay, guys. Let's get into potentially the biggest steal of the draft here for the Mets. One of the biggest steals here of the entire draft. Someone that was viewed to go in the middle of the first round. Middle to latter half of the first round. The Mets find themselves drafting all the way at number 52. And that is 6'4", 210 right-handed pitcher from Knoxville. And yes, Bleav Tidwell. Love this pick for the New York Mets. We got a 6'4", big body 21-year-old. He was the number 27 overall prospect entering the draft according to MLB.com. He was in Keith Law's top 20 or 25 or so. He was literally deemed by everyone and their mother as a first-round draft pick that the Mets got all the way at 52 here. He went 13-5 over 31 games and 27 starts with 3.53 ERA and 141 punchies and just under 140 innings in 2 seasons with Knoxville. And he did miss the first 6 weeks of the season with shoulder soreness that I'm reading here according to Joe DeMayo on SNY, and did not rejoin the team until March. So it seems like, however, the Mets were actually able to look at his medicals. I know that's something they ended up not being able to do with Kumar Rocker. But yeah, it seemed like what caused Tidwell to fall was the lack of pitching that he had earlier this year, because again, he was out for 6 weeks with shoulder tightness. But regardless on what his status is with his shoulder, I don't know, for example, if Tidwell, I don't think he's had Tommy John yet. I'm sure that's something that he may have to deal with in the future. But all I know is that from everything I've universally seen, Tidwell is one of the biggest steals of this entire draft. And thankfully, he fell in the Mets' lap. So I'm pumped up. I love that for the Mets. Get me all the pitching talent. Let's not forget, the Mets have traded away a lot of pitching capital in the recent years. For the Marcus Stroman trade, right? What we saw recently, the Chris Bassett trade, right? I mean, the Mets have parted with some significant pitching prospects over the past couple of years, from pre-Steve Cohen era during Brodie Van Wagenen's final time, and then also post-Brodie Van Wagenen era here now that we're seeing with Steve Cohen. So the Mets need to bolster their prospect capital, especially on the pitching front. Bleav Tidwell, number 52, is probably one of the best scenarios they could have ever had. So I'm absolutely feeling electric with that pick. And the final pick that we will be discussing today, folks, then we'll get into my initial overall recap of this draft and get into all these juicy trade rumors that will take us up for the next hour or so in the show. We got Nick Boribito. Love that name, Nick Boribito. Love that. Outfielder, 75th overall. He was the District of Columbia Gatorade Player of the Year after starring at Gonzaga College High School in Washington, D.C. MLB ranked, had him at 91st overall ranked. The Mets actually took him earlier than his initial ranking at 91. But they really like what they have here. He's unbelievably athletic, another speedster with a nice short compact swing, nice short compact swing that can definitely be utilized as another kind of Swiss Army knife. He is committed to Virginia Tech. However, there's a possibility, I think I saw reports that he may not even be going to Virginia Tech now, so that way he can further advance his MLB career and start already in the minors for the Mets in Port St. Lucie, or however he's going to be starting out. So he was committed to Virginia Tech, but I do believe I saw conflicting reports, if I'm not mistaken, while doing my homework just over the past couple hours, that he may in fact not even be going to Virginia Tech. So quote me if I'm wrong. I honestly, I think it's a toss-up right now, but I think there's a solid chance that he ends up not going. But the 5'11", 185-pounder brings plenty of speed in the outfield at 19 years of age for the Mets. Mets need more outfield depth. We'll take that to the bank every day of the week. And he played shortstop in high school, according to here, Joe DeMayo, from what I'm seeing. And some scouts see him as a second baseman, but many think he can be an outfielder thanks to his great athleticism and speed. So 1 through 4, that's what I like, guys. And when we look at the Mets draft overall that we see here through the first couple of things, one thing that stood out the most to me, folks, my humble opinion, is that the Mets were able to land these three, especially those 1, 2, and 3, Keith Law, the Athletic, who's most known for his prospect rankings he does every year. He does like the top 100 prospect rankings for the draft. He does it for team prospect polls. He does it for everything prospect related. Keith Law usually covers pretty well of the Athletic. Keith Law had literally all these guys way ahead that the Mets acquired. He felt that the Mets had one of the best drafts of this entire draft. He was beyond impressed with what the Mets were able to do here. I mean, like I said, Keith Law had Parada as his top college bat. He had Tidwell all the way early, mid to late in the first round, I should say. So he was pretty impressed with what the Mets were able to do, and so was I. But everybody here in the chat right now, folks, before we advance forward, before we start getting the rumors, I would like to know everyone's quick thoughts and reactions to this year's draft for the Mets. Are you happy with the picks that they made? Are you disgruntled with the picks that they have made? Regardless of what your thoughts are, make sure to let me know in the live show right now. And as you're doing that, I'm going to start to address some donations. Then we'll go forward. I'll look at more of your comments. Then we will get into the nit and gritty on all the trade rumors and stuff, folks. And again, thank you guys all so much for being here. Continue smashing that like and subscribe on. We're trying to get 300 plus likes by the end of the live show to my 400 plus viewers. So again, appreciate all you guys chiming in. Greatly appreciate it. Because once again, that rumor talk, there's no going back. It's going to be nonstop, breaking a sweat, talking about all these rumors for an hour straight until we get to the home run derby, and then I'm out of here. I'll watch the home run derby separate, and then if Alonso wins, I might do a quick video on it. I'm honestly not sure. I know that's an awesome thing. I might do my reaction if he wins, but that'll probably be the most of it. I don't expect to do a live stream on it tonight. That's why we're streaming now, to get all these rumors and stuff out of the way. And you guys, of course, can expect more rumor streams like this as we get closer to the trade deadline. That's a given. Dusty Kitten, thank you so much for the $5 donation. Where you asked question, what do you think has the best chance? Who do I think has the best chance? Is Soto? CBS saying it's the Cards, but I really think it's Padres and Mets. In my personal opinion, Dusty Kitten, I think a team like the Dodgers, because they really haven't been talked about yet, will always have a great chance. Also, because Mike Rizzo has a great familiarity with the Dodgers, their farm. They just did that massive blockbuster last year with landing the likes of, that you saw, Keeper Ruiz, Josiah Gray, and that massive Trey Turner, Mad Max deal. So I do think every team has a solid chance. I'm not under the belief that the Cardinals have as good of a chance as people are making it out to be. I'm not being sold on that notion at all. I'm just not. I feel that while anything's possible, nothing is a guarantee. Soto could easily be traded somewhere where there's no shot in hell he will extend with them because they won't pony up the contract. The Cardinals are not giving Juan Soto $500 million. I'm sorry to break it to you. I'm going to go on a limb and say that is not going to happen. However, what we do know is that there are select few teams that can afford Juan Soto, and I'm under the firm belief still that the Mets can make it happen because of their financial flexibility, and their financial flexibility first and foremost. Not just for the sake of being able to afford Soto to an extension, because the Nationals don't care about the Mets getting an extension or not. If anything, they don't want the Mets to extend him in a scenario where he's traded. They don't want to deal with him for the next 15 years in the NL East. But what I do know is that the Mets can eat contracts. Can they use a Steven Strasburg or the likes of a Patrick Corbin, bad contract, eat that deal? Can they use that as an X factor? Can that be something that benefits the Mets at least enough to give them a slight edge on some competitive teams, along with the Mets giving up a plethora of top prospects and potentially some young talent on the roster? Throw them J.D. Davis. Throw them Dom Smith. They're both not free agents for another 3 years. Those are exactly guys that would have hurt the Nationals now in a rebuild/retool. Give them playing time. Let's see if they get their spark back. And if so, good for them. Congratulations. Have fun in D.C. But then you look at the likes of pitching as well. The Mets do have some young, controllable pitching on the roster right now and or in AAA. They can part with some if necessary. You give up anything and everything for someone like Juan Soto. And I do believe that when it comes down to financial flexibility, that is where I love the Mets' chances more than anyone. I don't see the Padres taking a Strasburg or a Corbin contract. I don't even see the Yanks doing it. The Dodgers, I would be surprised. I got to be honest here. So if I'm weighing my options, I do think the Mets have as good of a shot as any other team. I don't think it's as outlandish, and the fact that the Mets are already top 4 and these sweepstakes is telling. They're interested. They're all in. I know damn well that while the Mets do not want to give up the farm, they will certainly do what it takes to go all in and do their absolute best. If the Mets don't get Soto, it won't be for a lack of effort. I feel pretty confident in saying that. Dustin, thank you so much for the donation. Oh, there was a dono also from Dave. Let me get to that, my friend. Dave with the $10 donation. Thank you so much for that, Dave. Hype in the chat to you, my man. Hype in the chat to Dave as always, folks. Let's see here. Dave says, I would give up Alvarez and Soto and deal only if I agree. I love Alvarez to death. I don't want to see him go anywhere, but I'm not going to lie. As much as it would pay me to see Alvarez gone, I still don't really second guess it if that will be an X factor in landing Juan Soto. The Mets have the best prospect in baseball. Do I want to see Francisco Alvarez thrive and be a nemesis for the Mets against the Mets for the next decade plus? No, of course I don't. But looking at the other end, when you have potentially the best player in baseball on your team for the next 15 years, yeah, I think I can bite the bullet and deal with it. So I don't want Alvarez gone. He's literally one of my favorite prospects I've ever witnessed as a Mets fan, if not my top favorite. However, when it comes to someone in Juan Soto and his caliber, if it ends up taking Alvarez out at the end of the day, that is a bullet that maybe the Mets might just bite, knowing that they're getting Juan effing Soto. He's literally probably one of the only players that makes this not even something where you question. Juan Soto is that anomaly. That's how elite he is. And I give up anything and everything for him. It's not even like that this man has age where it's like, oh no, he's a guy that's already 30 plus. He's not worth doing it. Don't give up your top prospects. My man's isn't even 24 yet. He's elite. He's Juan Soto. Give me him. I think we could still give a couple more top prospects instead of Alvarez. But either way, you got to get Soto. Uncle C, make it happen. Yeah, fingers crossed, Dave. Thank you so much for that donation, my man. Hype in the chat to you, and hype in the chat to all you guys as well that have been watching the live show, guys. Greatly appreciate everyone being in here. Let's go forward here. Duran, thank you so much for the donation here. Duran says, do I think Steve Cohen could pull a Jim Dolan and force Soto trade at any cost possible? I think let me put it this way. If Cohen really wants Soto, Billy Epler will act in accordance to what his boss wants. That's how it works. The same way that you saw Steve Cohen want Max Scherzer in the offseason. Yeah. Billy Epler knows he's going to get Max. Steve's going to be a factor in negotiations. That's a guarantee. If the Mets land Soto, I promise you that Steve Cohen will be a factor in that. There's no other way to look at it. Hold on, everybody. I'm trying to catch up to the chats right now. Young Jimmy, thank you so much for the donation. Young Jimmy says, will the Mets ever consider Degrom as a trade piece for Soto? No. All right, see, no. Here's the thing. Please explain to me why in God's name a Washington Nationals team that's in a rebuild/retool would want Jacob Degrom, who's opting out at the end of this season, who hasn't even pitched the first 90 games this year. He hasn't even pitched. I can honestly bet you there's little to no reason of interest at all the Nationals would have in Jacob Degrom. It makes zero sense. It would be the stupidest thing. If the Mets trade Jacob Degrom as an X factor in Soto, that'll probably be the most lopsided trade that you'll ever see in MLB history. You lock down Soto, assuming that you lock him down for like 15 years, and then you go out and try to get Degrom back in the offseason when he opts out, because he sure as hell isn't staying in D.C. No, such nonsense. Any fan that would say such a notion has no clue what is going on right now, with all due respect. So no, your friend is on another planet right now with suggestions. I would say stick to your gut and stick to what you know, my man. Soto looks to be a generational talent. He is a guy to build a team around. You pay for that when you can if you are serious about winning long term. I agree. I 100% agree. Oh, I see some Yankees fans are in the chat. I love when they come in. Always rent free. Thank you for the time. Appreciate you. Yankees coming for us. Oh my goodness. What am I going to do? The big bad Yankees are coming. Who gives a shit? You think I care? Let's see how the Subway Series goes when it looks like Jake might be in that mix. I'm excited. You must throw in Zapucki in any Soto deal. I agree on that one. Just throw him in. Even if they don't want him, just toss him. Be like, just take him. Just take him. Dave, thank you for the donation. I appreciate that. Garrett Cole, Garrett Cole, get your sticky stuff out of your ass, my friend. Why don't you not be a cheater for once and come back to me? That's cute. What about signing Degrom? That would be crazy sign both him and Nimmo. Yeah. Let me put it this way. If the Mets were to acquire Soto, I would say that Nimmo would no longer be a Met. I would be surprised if the Mets could lock down Nimmo. However, I know that Nimmo isn't going to cost like an egregious amount of money. I think he's going to look for upwards of $100 million deal over like 7 years. Maybe you can get him less than that. Maybe you can get him on the Byron Buxton trend, but a little bit less, maybe around 80. I would love it if the Mets can lock down Nimmo on like an 80 mil deal. Maybe somewhat similar to Starling Marte. Maybe just a little bit more term. I'm down with that. But how the Mets, yeah, if the Mets landed Soto in that hypothetical, I would be surprised if the Mets brought back Nimmo, which would suck. But again, if you're picking, it's apples and oranges. It ain't the same thing here. Yeah, and that is where you're kicked. See Yankees fans so classy coming here talking about Chase Utley as if what he did was a good thing. Yeah, no, that's where you go. I'll let them watch. They can watch all they want. I just don't need to see them in the chat anymore. I'm not going to entertain that nonsense. Wicked, how's it going, my man? As much as I like MLB, the MLB draft has the least immediate impact on MLB team. Oh, 100%. A lot of picks. It would have more of an impact if they were actually allowed to trade their draft picks. But no, God forbid they could throw that in the CBA. It is what it is, though. If the Yankees get Soto, the Mets will end up with Judge or Ohtani. I agree. The Mets are in such a win-now situation. The Mets are in a great situation, folks. If they don't get Soto, it's not the end of the world. I mean, I'm not getting my hopes up on Soto. I'd like to make that clear. Mauricio is ranked 52. My mistake. I don't know why I thought that Mauricio wasn't in MLB's top 100 if that's the case. Maybe I looked at a different ranking, and if so, I completely apologize because I know that I saw Mauricio out of the top 100 on something. Or maybe it was Vientos. It might have been Vientos. And again, if so, I do apologize for that. Not trying to confuse anyone. But what I do know when looking at Soto, for instance, guys, is that the Mets are in a great scenario. I think I was thinking of Vientos. I think you're right, Ron. My mistake. That's on me. That's on me, guys. My apologies. If you get Soto, awesome. But if Soto goes to the Yanks, Judge is most certainly not going back to the Yanks. The Mets would pony up the dough to make sure Judge doesn't go back to the Yanks. Shohei Ohtani, when he's a free agent in a couple of years, he's going to be excited. I mean, the Mets, 100% of options. Breaking news from MLB Insider. Aaron Judge traded the Yanks for Blake Tribe and Cody Bellinger, Trace Thompson, and a player to be named later. Who says no, right? But guys, let's get into talking more about Juan Soto right now and more trade rumors. So, everybody, let's get a poll set up in the chat. Then we'll go forward. I want to know everyone's thoughts on Juan Soto at the moment. And thank you guys so much for over 100 likes. I appreciate that. Help us. We're trying to get to 300 by the end of the live show. Continue smashing those buttons. Greatly appreciate from every single one of you guys. And once we get 200 likes for the next short-term goal, I'll give whoever hit that 200 like button a big shout out as always before we get to 300. Let me set up a poll real quick. Bear with me, guys. All right, guys, there we go. Literally, I didn't talk for like 2 minutes and I lost like 100 viewers. How's that even make sense? Whatever. All right, let's get back into it. All right. Sup, Worry? Yeah, just go back earlier if you missed my draft talk and more on Soto. But all right, guys, so the latest Juan Soto updates to this juncture, in case you guys aren't aware, are the following. As I described in my video earlier today, and I will say it again, in the meantime, though, make sure that you guys check out what we have right now in the stream, which is, the poll going on. Jaden, thank you so much for the donation. Mauricio is ranked 52 in MLB. Ramirez is 87. Thank you so much for that, Jaden. I appreciate you a lot. Hi in the chat to you, brother. But going back to the Mets, it came out yesterday in MLB's draft from Jeff Passan that we discussed. The fact that the Mets are 1 of 4 is exciting to begin with. But the fact that they are 1 of 4 that is actually deemed fairly realistic, directly in hand with the fact that they actually have the assets to make it happen. The Mets, give credit where credit's due with Steve Cohen and everyone that they have been able to build over this time. They already are 16th ranked prospect pool-wise in all of baseball. This was entering this year's draft. I would argue that's probably at minimum 15th now, if not higher, because they had a phenomenal draft. But what the Mets have done with their prospect pool in such a short period of time under Steve Cohen has already made them a middle-of-the-pack team. Like, the Mets don't have a bottom-feeder farm anymore. Now, granted that, of course, can and will change should they trade any significant pieces in a Soto deal or someone of significance still. But it's great that the Mets have built this thing well in a short period of time. And the more they do that, the more that they will act as a Dodgers-type team in the sense that they will be able to make big moves happen when players are available like this for Soto. Now, whether or not the Mets will truly have enough assets is, again, a wait-and-see situation. But what we do know is that they have shown interest already. They're exploring. The Yankees have as well. And this is going to be quite the whirlwind leading up to this year's trade deadline. Now, what we did see reported yesterday as well that I discussed in my video earlier, in case you guys missed it, that's just why I'm reiterating it once more, was that I was reporting from SNY. It was Andy Martino, so again, it's Andy. Take it as you will. But regardless, it was breaking news that according to multiple industry sources, the Nationals do in fact view the Mets as a potential fit among a short group of teams, a small group. And that, why I believe is true, went directly in hand with Jeff Passan's report live during the MLB draft yesterday. So they coincided with each other. Can't Mets pay Scherzer's Nats contract? They probably could. If they want to take on that deferred money, as long as that's possible, that's of interest as well. Could be, or it could just be the likes of Corbin or Strasburg taking on those deals. Either way, one of those would make sense. Of course, Mad Max wants Soto on the Mets. Why wouldn't he, right? Dave, thank you so much. I know Juan Soto said I'm incredible at Citi Field. Yeah, he said that he loves playing in Citi Field. Look at my numbers; they're amazing. Yeah, he said he loves playing in New York. So he was asked that. He was asked about the potential landing in New York via trade, and he twisted the words. And I'm sure that Boris told him to say this. That I love playing against the Mets. I love playing in Citi Field. Look at my numbers. Yeah, no, I love playing there. Mets outfielder or future Judge Trout Soto DH. Yeah, Ohtani as well. Might as well have a $2 billion payroll, because why the hell not, Dave, right? Thank you so much for the donation, no less. Hyping the chat to you. Okay, last thing though, and this is the big thing, right? And I discussed this earlier, but I'll say it once more. An NL East trade may be difficult. I think that is a fair assessment in the sense that the Nationals, Mike Rizzo doesn't want to trade Juan Soto to the Mets. No one should ever think that he does want to. But at the end of the day, and this is something that I personally feel strongly by, and I want to know if you guys feel different at all, is whether or not is Soto coming to Mets possible by impact of a deal alone? Because I don't see a world where Soto coming to Mets, is blocked solely because of them being at least rivals. I just don't see that being a reality when, again, you go to the best suitor. After all, you go to the best suitor. You do not go to the best deal, I should say. You don't go to a team far away and you give up a generational talent in Soto. You don't do that just for the sake of doing that. You do that if you're completely swayed and knocked your socks off with a potential deal. If the Mets knock the socks off of Mike Rizzo and the Nationals, I find it really hard to believe that they don't find themselves in that great mix. Best case scenario for the Mets is Soto goes to the Cardinals. They can't afford Soto at free agency. I agree. The Padres can't afford Soto either, though. So I mean, if Soto's going to be dealt anywhere, as long as he doesn't go to the Yankees or the Dodgers, I'm chilling. Like, I'm cool with it. Padres, yeah, that might be a thorn in the Mets side a little bit. Cardinals, though, those are two teams that, again, I don't see them being able to afford Soto once he's able to hit the market. Yanks, Dodgers, I could see being able to afford it. So we'll see. Start carrying the baseball card around. Shout out to Stark Raven Sports, guys. Make sure to check them out. Over 100K subs. Like it's easy because they have a phenomenal, all sports, especially baseball heavy content on their channel. And yeah, superstitions wise, he believes that this is probably Mike. It is Mike, obviously. that he wants me to carry around a Juan Soto baseball card as good luck. So I'm not going to lie, if I find a Juan Soto baseball card, I might just do it. His father did the same thing with Johan Santana, leading up to Santana arriving with the Mets, and it worked. So, superstition to everyone out there. If you're a Mets fan, if you want Soto on the Mets, grab a Soto baseball card and keep it in your pocket every single day until after the trade deadline and see if it does any miracle magic for you. But again, we'll see. Thank you so much for chiming in, Mike. Appreciate you. But okay, we talked about the Juan Soto stuff, guys. So let's break down everything here from Mets trade targets. This is what I did during the offseason. This is what I'll do here. You'll see me do the same and more live streams as we get closer to the trade deadline. Okay, guys, out of one player that's either reportedly connected to the Mets or potentially connected to the Mets, out of any of the players that you see here listed on my graphic, which one do you want the Mets to land the most? Now, obviously, a large contingency of you guys here would like Soto the most. So putting Soto aside, because Soto is still such a pipe dream in the sense that it'll take so much to land him. Let's talk about guys that potentially have more realism just based on value alone. What are guys that you would love on the Mets? Let me hear it in the chat right now. Pick one or multiple of the guys that you see here on the list from the reportedly connected or the potentially connected. Let me hear it. And as you're doing that, continue smashing that like and subscribe button, guys. Thank you all so much in advance. 200 likes is the next short-term goal. We're trying to get a 300, and we'll be live still for the next 40 minutes or so until we get to the home run derby tonight. Okay, let's see. Oh, I like the list. Sorry, we got Bell, we got Mancini, we got Robertson, we got some Montas, we got Fulmer, love Mansupply, Contreras, Bell, Bednar, Chafin, says Daniel. Oh, we got a nice little mix here. Jason Bay, of course, checks out. They're getting Soto. You're cleaning house. 100% you clean house if you get Soto. Yes, you give up everything and their mother. So that's what you do when you get Juan Soto. And I would expect nothing less. And I would not even be upset by it. Juan Soto is a player you 1,000% give up your farm for. It isn't even second guess. With how great the Mets have been with drafting as well, Mets haven't been bad with drafting in over a decade. Mets actually have the second most WAR of wins above replacement in all of baseball for teams from the draft over the past decade, only trailing the Astros. The only reason why it hasn't turned out to too much is because the Mets have parted ways with so many of those players. But again, if you're going to part ways, this is the type of guy to do it. This is 1,000% the guy to do it. He's quite literally one of the only guys to do it with. Heyman said that they would want Alonso for Soto. Where did you hear that? And that wouldn't happen. I promise you the Mets could still make a deal without parting ways with Alonso. I could see why they would want him. That makes sense because he's young, controllable. But no, I still don't see that. Dave with the $5 donation. Dave says Rizzo may not want Soto on Mets for 15 years. Yep, I agree. Why would he? But Mets may have to face Beatty, Vientos, Allen, and maybe Alvarez too. It works. 100%. And 1,000% works. I mean, look, the Mets could have all their prospects blossom after being dealt. That's the risk you take when you go after someone of Soto's nature. It's the nature of the game. Dave, thank you so much for that donut. I appreciate it. I know Heyman says a lot of BS somewhere. On SNY, I'll check it out on SNY. Not a problem. However, just because they asked doesn't mean that that's going to happen, okay? We've seen it time and time again. I can most certainly see a world where the Mets give up plenty without having to give up Alonso. Do I know where the next All-Star game is taking place? No, I do not, Mikey. If someone knows, make sure to let them know in the chat because I do not know. Will I stay live during the Home Run Derby? No, I am not. I'm getting off live as soon as the Home Run Derby begins, as a matter of fact. Seattle. What are we talking about? Oh, Seattle for next year. I was like, what are we talking about Seattle for a minute? Okay, guys, so let's take a look. Let's just deep dive. Let's go through one by one. Okay, let's talk one by one for a minute. Juan Soto, the talk is fun. I'll answer more questions as they come. But outside of Juan Soto, let's talk about all pretty realistic options for the Mets, right? Realistic guys at the deadline. Andrew Benintendi's an interesting one for me. And Benintendi, we did a video on just a couple days ago. Make sure to check it out, guys. Links down below. It's all in the playlist that we made on latest Mets trade rumors and targets. Check that out if you haven't already. Benintendi, vax status aside, because I know that that's a factor to some people. It's not a factor of the Mets, though. That's why they're still weighing him as an option. Andrew Benintendi is a bad mofo. The only reason why I could see Benintendi not being a good fit for the Mets, if I'm being honest, is because he doesn't have home run power. And that's what sucks about him, because Benintendi is literally hitting .335 against righties this year. He's hitting right around .278 against lefties. Against starter lefties, he's hitting over .300. I mean, Benintendi's been a contact machine, a left-handed bat that's so Jeff McNeil-esque, spreads the field like no tomorrow. He hits for opposite field as if he's doing it with his eyes closed. He has a phenomenal approach at the plate. He just hasn't had the home run ball this year. Benintendi's overall approach at the plate has been elite, and he's so underrated. It just sucks because when I look at Benintendi, if that home run rate wasn't as low as what it was, I would almost say that he's like a lock. I would say that he's up there as the best option for the Mets. I don't think he's the best option, but I do think he's definitely a strong, feasible one for the Mets that they will be weighing. As I discussed in my video, however, one thing to keep in mind with Andrew Benintendi is not just him having a great plate approach this year. He's batting like .317, .320 from a couple days ago. But it's also the Royals tend to be stubborn. Now, I don't know how much what Royals are looking at, what they want in return for Benintendi. That's a toss-up right now. Royals have been stubborn in the past, even for guys that are rentals and someone like Benintendi now. So weighing his market's going to be very interesting. But do not be surprised if the Mets find themselves really in deep talks for someone like Benintendi. I think he could be a phenomenal fit. Again, not the home run ball, but he is the type of player that the Mets have idolized this year, which is contact machines that grind out at bats. Benintendi doesn't walk guys. I mean, Benintendi doesn't strike out guys. He's in the 90th plus percentile and the K rate. I mean, he doesn't swing and miss at anything. He's a Mark Canha, Jeff McNeil, Brandon Nimmo, all into one. That is what we are seeing here with Andrew Benintendi. Really, really like Benny. I do. I think he'd be a great fit. However, guys, when we're looking at home run balls, talking about more reported options, let's get to Mancini. Yes, we all love Mr. Mancini for the Baltimore Orioles, but the biggest issue with Mancini right now, guys, is not the fact that he's hitting right under 300, 800 OPS with around 10 bombs. It's the fact that he is on a Baltimore Orioles team that is too good right now. Orioles are playing too good right now, folks, to the point where they may not even be sellers. It's absurd. James. Let's get some hype in the chat for James. It's his 49th birthday, a young 49. What a beautiful stud. He's a great supporter on the channel. He's been an OG here as well. Hype in the chat to James. We love to hear that. Happy birthday to you, my friend. I'm going to check the Orioles in the standings right now, everybody, because like I said, it's going to be, Orioles are right there at the moment for the wild card, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Baltimore's only 3.5 out. They're 46-46 on the year. So, man, oh man, they're gonna be that team that's teetering between wanting to be buyers or sellers. It's a tough one. That's a really tough one. But talking in the hypothetical here, the O's are going to sell. Then that's where the Mets come in for Trey Mancini. I will even go as far to say, folks, I think the Mets may have one of the best shots out there to land Trey Mancini should the Orioles sell. Putting Soto aside, putting Soto talk aside, okay? Because that's something separate. When we're talking about bats separate from Soto, Trey Mancini, as long as he's available, I do believe is one of the best options for the Mets, 100%. He can hit for opposite field as a righty bat, can pull the bad boy, can hit for home runs, and can hit for a high average. Him back-to-back with Alonso in this lineup would be electric, and it wouldn't cost you everything in the world to acquire someone like him. He has a mutual option at the end of this year, around $10 million, and then he's a free agent after next season. So I like Trey Mancini. Nelson Cruz, Nelly, Boomstick, he's got some pop in his bat, but he's having the lowest slugging of his young career. Not young, I think old career, right? But we'll call him young because he's like 43. He ages like a fine wine. Nelly's finally starting to get hit with father time a little bit. He doesn't have the same swing like he used to. The home run rate's a little down. Still driving in runs, though. Nelly wouldn't be a terrible. He would be better than J.D. Davis and Dom Smith. Would not cost you much, but I would just be really surprised if the Mets found themselves landing someone like Cruz, even after showing interest in him, because he gives you no defensive upside, no defensive versatility. All the guy can do is play DH, and how much of an X factor can he be for you as looking for another bat in his lap? I just don't know. When you look at Trey Mancini, while he's not a great defender, he still has versatility more. He plays at first. He plays in right. He gives you defensive options. That's someone in Buck Showalter, in which, let's not forget, Buck managed Trey Mancini for 2 to 3 years in Baltimore, can utilize to his advantage. When you don't have that defensive versatility, Buck is really handicapped and strapped with what he can do. And for those reasons, that's why I just don't view someone in Cruz as a fit outside of his lack of slugging that we have seen so far this year. A couple more guys, though, that I want to get into. How's it going, Kevin? Great member on the channel. Kish, great member. Ferrari Frank, as I mentioned earlier, appreciate all you guys, as always, folks. Let me get some drink in my Baja Blast real quick and continue. Let me know what your thoughts, guys, on the player you want the most, along with smashing that like and subscribe on. Greatly appreciate it. Guys, we're less than 50 subs away from 16K on the channel. So let's see if we can hit it here during the live show. That'd be absolutely electric. If we do, thank you guys so much in advance for that. If we don't, that's okay too. But if we do, that'd be pretty cool. I'm not going to complain. Bias aside, Alonso's still my pick. Just because Alonso has the most experience in this home run derby, it's hard not to pick him. I mean, if you're talking about a confidence factor, I got to go with Alonso, if I'm being honest. And that's bias aside. Look, I'm a Mets fan. So putting that aside, Alonso, he's won back-to-back in impressive fashion, in easy fashion. I don't see why he wouldn't win today, or at least wouldn't get close to winning. But again, anything can happen, right? We talked about Soto, Benny, Mancini, Cruz. Now let's get a Robertson. David Robertson pitched 2 scoreless against the Mets in the Chicago Cubs series, in which the Mets won 3 of 4. Should have swept, shouldn't have grinded out their final 3 games, but they did. But one thing was certain. The Mets got a nice look at David Robertson, a veteran right-handed relief pitcher, 37 years of age, who's had a great bounce-back year with the Cubs this year. And Robertson, who knows Billy Epler, GM for the Mets, a longtime assistant GM with the Yankees. Epler was actually part of the front office when they scouted and originally acquired Robertson via trade years ago for the Yanks, draft-wise. And Robertson, great year. The Mets have shown interest over the past couple of weeks. David Robertson is exactly what this Mets bullpen could use, because before you get to the length of saying the Mets can only need a southpaw in this bullpen, I would counter with that by saying that lefty batters ain't doing jack shit against David Robertson. They ain't hitting a lick. They're doing a horrendous job, just like righty batters are. David Robertson has been dominant against lefties his entire career. I love his chances not to just be dealt to the Mets. I think the Mets are really in on him. I think if the Mets are going to land anyone from Chicago, it's David Robertson first and foremost. More than Contreras, more than others, I think David Robertson is their guy. And he has a familiarity in the big market in New York. He was a longtime great pitcher there in the Bronx for the Yanks. He's had a bounce-back year as a guy, knows, understands high-leverage situations, knows what it takes in playoff time, knows what it takes World Series time. He has all the tools for what the Mets are looking for right now as a bona fide setup guy, can be a closer for days that Diaz is not available. I just love David Robertson. I want him. He's a rental. You don't have to give up too much to land someone like him. I think the Mets can make a deal happen with pretty much with ease. I honestly do. Even with opposing contending teams going after someone like Robertson, I really like the Mets' chances of landing someone of his nature. I do. But then we have the big bucks when it comes to starters. We got the Castillo. We got the Molly. We got the Montas. What do all these 3 starters have in common, everybody? They're starters that are unlikely to land with the New York Mets. I'm sorry to break it to you, but unless anything drastically changed, it has been abundantly clear that the Mets, who a month ago looked like that they need starting pitching depth more than anything. As I said, it's a fluent situation. You got to wait to see how Max comes back. Got to see how David Pearson and Williams continue to do. You got to see if Jake's going to be back. All these things are solidifying right now, which would lead me to the belief that if the Mets will land a starter, it's not going to be a Castillo. It's not going to be a Molly, and it's not going to be a Montas. These guys are going to cost you key prospects that the Mets may already find themselves parting with, that they really go all in for Soto here, which isn't impossible. It definitely is a likelihood. We'll just see exactly how much the Nationals take the Mets serious. But these starters, while they're great, I think if Castillo's going to go anywhere, I think Castillo is a lock for the Yankees. I think if Molly goes, I honestly don't know where Molly would go. If I mean, I don't even think Molly's going to get traded. Montas, he's a huge wild card. I don't know where he's going to go either. But again, if the Mets land starting pitching, I think they're going to go more on the depth route than they are for a bona fide starter that's going to make them give up a decent haul. Because here's the thing. If Soto doesn't get traded at the trade deadline, folks, you're damn certain the Mets will be in the Soto sweepstakes come the offseason. So if you go all in for a big-name pitcher right now, you potentially part with one or two prospects that you maybe could have put in a part of a Juan Soto deal in the offseason. So now there's risks involved with how you operate by this trade deadline. And because of all those reasons, I don't think the Mets are going to land any of the big three starter-wise. I would love if they did. Not something I would get my hopes up. If it happens, awesome. But if not, then, it is what it is. But we talked about all the reportedly connected. Let me see if I missed any donations here, guys. I'm going to go forward. All right, guys, bear with me 1 second. Shout out all my 400 viewers. I hope you guys have been enjoying the live show today. Again, we will be doing more live shows like this. I'm going to be out of town for all the next week, guys, but it's not impossible that we do another live show similar to this, or my podcast when it comes out. That should come out Thursday, early Thursday. We're going to have a lot of content still coming out. I would imagine that maybe the next video or stream comes out on Wednesday. I don't know if anything's going to come out tomorrow. Busy day for me tomorrow. But yeah, stay tuned. I've been wanting to do my damn relievers video too, guys. I've been so backed up with all the news, along with what's been going on with me in my personal life. So I want to get the relievers video out more than anything. I just don't know when I can get it out right now. It's driving me nuts. But at least I have some relievers here that I haven't mentioned to you guys before that are on the potentially connected. And we'll expand on some of them. Matt, how's it going, my man? Am I streaming? I'm not streaming the home run derby. No, I'm out of here when the home run derby starts. Not doing the home run derby. I know Alonso's in it, and I did it last year, but I'm not doing it this year. Love the show. I know this is kind of off topic, but you ever consider streaming on Twitch? Just curious. Yeah, no, I really haven't. I may at some points, but Twitch is so hard to build a platform on, especially with what I'm doing. It would really be a whole startup all over again. So I may start a Twitch eventually and do some random non-Met stuff on it, like just all things MLB, but nothing that I'm going to go out of my way for at the moment. If I do anything that isn't YouTube right now or isn't part of my podcast network for Bleav, it would probably be Discord. And the Rabbits are doing great, Ethan. Thanks for asking. I'll bring one of them in before the end of the show, as long as I remember. Yeah, I know Ulrid was a first baseman too. Yeah, no. I don't know why I said what I said. Did Ulrich play catcher, or am I losing my mind? Maybe he didn't with the Mets, but did Ulrich ever play catcher in his career? I feel like he did. No? Or am I just going nuts? If I am, let me know. Again, I didn't watch Ulrich when he played, so I do not know. Let me know in the chat. No? Oh, you know why I was probably thinking that? You know why SRS was awesome. You know why I was probably thinking about Ulrich? Because he's worn those hard hats at first. I think that's why. He's worn those damn hard hats at first. That makes me think he's a catcher. That's probably why. That he fooled me. He bamboozled me. Okay. Now let's talk about potentially connected. Because there's one name. There's actually... position player wise, out of all these, there are 3 names that stick out to me like I want them. Look at pass and tweet, pretty cool. I'll do that, then we'll go forward. Oh, I hope the game's tied tomorrow for the All-Star game. That'd be so cool. Okay. Potentially connected, guys. By a show of hands, give me a hand emoji in the live chat right now. Would you like Josh Bell on the New York Mets? Putting Juan Soto aside, okay? Let's talk in the scenario where Juan Soto either does not get traded or he doesn't land with the Mets. So putting Juan Soto aside, talking about potentially connected players now, because Mets are already in on him. They're already in on him. Let me get a show of hands. Would you like Josh Bell on the New York Mets? Give me a show of hands. I'll keep my hand here as long as I have to until I see enough hands in the chat to understand what we are doing right now. Let me see those hands up right now. Okay. I think there's a large group, guys, for sure. Large group. Let's get those hands up. We see someone with a thumbs down. I guess he doesn't want him. That's fine. You don't got to want him. I just want to see some hands up in the chat. Yeah, I want Josh Bell. Josh Bell is an absolute demon, and I want him on the New York Mets. This man is a switch-hitting phenom that finally found his swing again. Had an awesome first half in 2019, had an abysmal second half in 2019. Really rough season last year and past couple of years between Pittsburgh and the Nationals. But he's finally back to what Josh Bell broke out as during his time in Pittsburgh. And Josh Bell is someone that I love, not just because of how great of a year he's having as a rental for the Washington Nationals, a team that will certainly be selling, that has a greater likelihood by far of the Mets being able to land. So for all the people, guys, let's talk for a minute. For all the people saying that, the Nats won't deal for Soto with the Mets, well, I'm pretty damn sure they're at minimum going to deal with someone like Bell or Cruz. So either way, I think there's a solid shot the Mets land a National. It's just a matter of which one it may be. But Bell right now in roughly 100 games this year, guys, batting .311, a .390 OBP, a 500-plus slugging. We're looking at right around a 800 OPS. Wait, 5, 6, 7, 8. A 900 OPS because I can't do math. There you go. Love to see that. We got a 148 WRC plus. He's 48% greater than the next guy's around a 150 or so OPS plus. This guy has been nasty. He's only 29, switch hitting phenom. But the biggest thing of all, folks, is not just because he is a rental. It's because of the fact that he is raking both lefties and righties. His splits are phenomenal. He reminds me so much of Benintendi in that sense. Both these guys are absolutely killing it. And either one I would love. But when talking about home run power, a guy that's on pace for 30-plus bombs this year, I like Josh Bell. I really like Josh Bell. Give me Josh Bell. Give me him now. That's how I react to Josh Bell talk. Give me him now. He's a guy that would not just be a phenomenal fit for the Mets, but really could take things to another level. I mean, he would just, I think he's probably the most ideal bat out there for the Mets that is affordable, because Soto is a different discussion. But when talking about affordability, Josh Bell's that man. Give me Josh Bell. And my personal rankings of position players, not named Juan Soto, I have Josh Bell at number 1. I think I have Trey Mancini right at number 2. It's close, but I have Mancini right at 2. Benintendi I have at 3, but you could argue Benintendi and Mancini because they both have different upsides of their game. I think just for team need right now, the Mets may favor a little bit more Mancini than Benintendi, but Benintendi is also just a really, really good contact hitter, and I love contact hitters. Sign me up for them. That's my 1, 2, and 3. Then Wilson Contreras. Wilson Contreras doesn't have as good as a bat as those guys. And he's a little harder to gauge because he's a catcher DH fit. I would almost put him in a separate class than what we're discussing as solely DH. Would love Contreras, but I know it may cost a little too much to land him. I just know he'd be a great fit for the Mets. And with all their uncertainties at catcher, Tomasino getting an MRI, McCann out long term. Who knows? Maybe Contreras ends up being a top priority for this team. But then after that, you have, I would say, I'd probably say CJ Cron, Brandon Drury, Ian Happ, and then we get into some other guys. Ian Happ, a really strong switch hitting outfield that can play the infield too. I just don't think Happ is a fit for the Mets. I don't think that they're going to go in on him, especially because he's not a free agent at the end of this year. He's a free agent after next year. So I think for that control, in part, the Mets ain't going to want to do it with Chicago. Charlie Blackmon, who's actually having a nice bounce-back year for the Rockies. Shouldn't say bounce-back. He's just having a solid year. Blackmon, who doesn't play defense well, is more known. He's a corner outfielder, but he doesn't play defense good. He is more so a DH bat, but a power lefty bat that the Mets could utilize for a guy that's on pace this year for 25 home runs. I mean, not a terrible thing. Blackmon is 36 years of age, is a rental. And when looking at Blackmon's numbers this year for Colorado, folks, he has a 277 average, a 326 on base, a 476 slug, and a 109 WRC plus, so just above the average player. 14 home runs, 47 runs scored, 54 RBIs, but don't love the home and away splits. Not that's the end of the world. I do think Blackmon would surely be an upgrade over Dom and JD, but he's not someone that's on the top of my list. I just would like the Mets to go after some others before they consider someone like Charlie. But before I get to the other players here listed, get to some pitching targets as well, I'm going to blow my nose out quick because I probably sound nasally as all hell, so bear with me 1 second, guys. But in the meantime, continue smashing that like and subscribe on. We're trying to get to 300 likes by the end of the live show, and thank you guys all so much in advance. So be right back. Give me 1 second, everybody. All right, we back. Sweet. Okay. So, talking about Happ, talking about Blackmon, talking about Cron. Cron's home and away splits are just brutal. Now, granted, who knows how that would transition when he's with a new team, getting acclimated, not having to deal with the altitude changes anymore. However, Cron is just a guy that I honestly I might be a little surprised if he's even traded this year, if I'm being honest, because he's not a free agent. He still has another year of control. And let's go, Pete, indeed, 100%. But then you have Brandon Drury as well. Drury is a big bat. Drury, who's having a phenomenal year for the Cincinnati Reds. In case you know that name, Brandon Drury, guys, that's because he was a New York Met last year as a great pinch hit god. Brandon Drury, whose numbers are a little inflated, he's better at Great American. Again, one of the best hitter parks out there. Is not as good on the road. However, his home run and RBI splits are basically the same. The only difference is really his average and his OPS, which makes sense when he's hitting in such a great ballpark that you see there. But I will say, when you have Brandon Drury, who has a familiarity in Cincinnati, with Queens with the Mets last year, and will not cost you much at all, Brandon Drury is a bargain bat that I think the Mets could really utilize. I would love Drury if they can get him on the low, along with potentially getting someone else. I mean, get both of them. I don't think that's a bad thing either. I see some people against Drury in the chat. That's okay. Everyone's entitled to their opinions. But I think if you land Brandon Drury, you have potential of landing another bat too, because you do not have to give up an arm and a leg, a king's ransom, if you will, for someone of Brandon Drury's caliber. That's why I like it, because especially if the Mets don't land Brandon Drury, he feels like the type of bat that I could see going to Atlanta and just absolutely murdering the Mets. So for the sake of trying to avoid something of that nature happening, let's bring Brandon Drury to Queens. In the most ideal world, if the Mets were going to go out and land more than one bat, again, Juan Soto aside, let's just put him out of the equation at the moment. I would want the Mets to go out and get Josh Bell and maybe Brandon Drury based on value-wise. Or Josh Bell and maybe someone to the lengths of, I actually don't know. Josh Bell's hard to think that they could get another bat that could be in the lineup every day. Might be tough. Or Benintendi, Mancini, or Benintendi, or Cruz. Cruz had off the bench as a DH / just bench fit because he just, he still hits well, better than what we currently have. The Mets have options hitter wise. What about Jock? I love Jock Pearson. He's definitely been having a great year. However, I don't know if the Giants are committed to selling. I don't know. They're a team. And let's keep in mind, Jock signed a team-friendly 1-year, $6 million deal this offseason with the Giants because he's from the Bay Area. I could see Jock signing a new deal with San Francisco. So I don't think he's a lock to be dealt right now either. But outside of all the offensive positions, what do I think about Joey Gallo? I think that I want nothing to do with Joey Gallo. That's what I think. No, thank you. Joey Gallo, this is not the year for the Mets to take on a reclamation project from the Yankees. No. And that's a very Will Ponds move if the Mets did that, in my humble opinion. That's something you consider in the offseason, if anything. If you can get Gallo's swing back and make him a 40 home run guy with a 250 plus average, then we're cooking. But until then, I want nothing to do with that 164 average. Chad Cool is a really, really strong name. Jose Quintana has been looking well for the Pirates. A nice bounce back year for the veteran Southpaw. Two starters, out of my opinion, I could see landing with the Mets more than a Castillo, Miley, or Montas, just based off value alone and how the Mets rotation currently looks. Not the prettiest names out there, but innings eaters. It doesn't hurt to have them. Then you get onto the bullpen as well. Let's see. Met your dad last week at my girlfriend's house. Saw I was wearing a Mets hat and show me your channel and love what you're doing. Oh, thank you so much, Brandon. I appreciate that. Yeah, I remember him telling me that. Thank you so much for chiming in. I'll tell him about that once more. Thank you kindly. But yeah, Bednar from the Pirates. That's a big name as well. He's someone that I don't think the Mets will land because I think the Pirates are going to want one pretty decent prospect in order to acquire Bednar, who's controllable. He's an absolute stud of a right-hander this year for the Pirates, but I just think the Mets can honestly do okay without even really considering Bednar. I think that there's other options out there, and I don't know why I don't have it up here, and that's shame on me. I meant to put his name, but Bard, who's a phenomenal reliever this year that we see from the Colorado Rockies, no less. He's having a great year for them. I would want Bard more than I would want Bednar because Bard's a free agent. He's a rental. He's free agent at the end of the year. You don't have to give up an arm and a leg to land him. Give me Bard. I would love Bard from the Rockies. I think he's had I know he's had a great year. Andrew Chafin, who I wanted in the offseason, not sure why the Mets weighed and did not land him. I know they had connections in Michigan that made him go to Detroit. However, Detroit sellers. Andrew Chafin's an absolute stud of a southpaw with just over 2 ERA. Another great year for him. When the Mets are looking for a lefty, which you'd have to imagine they are, Chafin, AJ Puck, and Joe Mansupply from the Arizona Diamondbacks, who's barely given up any runs this year. Those are all guys on my list. Mike, you've denied every guy that I've been in favor of, so please enlighten me on the guys that you would like. Let's see if I can satisfy you here in the chat. But also Michael Fulmer, who's having a great year. However, Fulmer, while he's having a great year, he has a high walk rate. I don't love that. I think that while Michael Fulmer's having a good year and it wouldn't be the end of the world to land him, I think he could very much be impressive for the Mets pen. The Mets, one of their biggest issues with their bullpen this year has been control. So if they're having control issues, I'm not necessarily completely in love with going after another right-hander. That's an Ottavino type in the sense where nasty stuff, but can he command the strike zone? You know, that's the big thing. Ottavino's done a far better job commanding the strike zone this year than he did last year. And I want to pull up those numbers quick through Baseball Savant because I'm pretty sure that Ottavino's numbers overall are much better than they were last year, walk rate-wise. Should the Mets try to sign Conforto in the offseason? Maybe, but, you know, nothing I'm getting my hopes up on. Oh, yeah. Okay, there we go. Ottavino's walk rate this season is in the 61st percentile, folks. Last year was 7th. So, again, Nasty Adam, if you look at all of his percentiles here through Baseball Savant last year, they were disgusting. That's why I love this move for the Mets when they got Ottavino. It was just a matter of getting his walk rate down. Again, it might be hard to see there. It's probably not going to focus. There we go. There you go. See? Walk percentage at 7%. Now look at Nasty Adam this year, folks. And this is what I love so much about Adam Ottavino. Hold on. Nasty Adam is literally in the high 80s, high 90s percentile, and basically all the important numbers. Look at this. Let's get that to focus. 61 percentile. He's above average in walk rate this year, which you can expect if you've been watching the Mets. Whiff rate, 67%. Beautiful. The more red dots, the better. Not that red dots mean everything, but with a reliever like Ottavino, I'm just glad that helped prove a point. Yeah, the chase rate last year, I know. Yeah, exactly. Ottavino's had a really, really good year for the Mets. That does not get appreciated enough, in my opinion. He's been one of the few bright spots in the bullpen. But, again, when looking at lefties especially, I saw someone say Gregory Soto in the chat. Gregory Soto just doesn't have command at all. I got to be honest, I'm not in love with a Gregory Soto type. I think if you're going to deal with Detroit, you get Andrew Chafin any and every day of the week before you consider Gregory Soto. I really don't want much to do with Soto, if I'm being honest. I don't think he's a bad pitcher. Command-wise, I'm just concerned because the Mets need to make sure that they have insurance, that they land relievers that can control the strike zone. If you can't do that, then we're back to square one. The entire reason why you're addressing this team, bullpen-wise, is because your relievers have struggled with command. So if you bring in guys that have struggles with their command, I don't love it. I just don't. I trust Ottavino in a big spot over Smith. I 100% do. Ottavino's been more clutch than Smith. However, I do agree to the extent that Ottavino, while he's been good in high leverage situations, he's not someone that I'm the utmost confident in. Edwin Diaz is probably the only reliever that I have the utmost confidence in, high leverage wise. Him and Adonis Medina. Those are the only two this year, I would say. So now Adam, I like more in the 7th. I would probably say I like Adam more in the 7th. Setup guys is where I think a David Robertson would be a great fit. Trevor May, we'll see what he provides when he's back healthy because he will be returning to Mets sometime soon after the All-Star break. But yeah. So with that being said, though, folks, we are going to be wrapping up the show in the next couple minutes. So if there's anything else you want to run my way, by all means, please do. Other than that, I hope you guys have enjoyed the show tonight. Please don't hesitate from smashing that like and subscribe button again. I'm not sure if there will be any content out tomorrow. There may be content out on Wednesday. There will surely be content out on Thursday for a new podcast. And then we'll have either post-game shows or post-game recaps for the Padres series on the channel. It'll be indicative on Degrom when he returns. And also because I'm out of town all next week, literally up until the Subway Series begins. So we'll see how live shows go. I do definitely want to try to get in one more live show of similar magnitude to this regarding rumors before the end of the week. So we'll see if we can get that done as well. I like Holderman in high leverage. I agree with you on that one, Ricardo. I do. I like Colin Holderman a lot. Trevor Story, guys, I don't think the Red Sox will be sellers. I got to be honest. I know what just happened with Chris Sale. I don't think the Red Sox are going to commit to selling. They're still above 500. I think the Red Sox are going to continue to push for that wild card. And I don't blame them. I really do not blame them. If I look at the numbers here, yeah, Red Sox right now, Red Sox are 48 and 45. And they're only two games out of the wild card. Yeah, there's no way. There's no way in hell they're not going to be buyers. They're 1,000% going to be buyers again. Yeah, no. Red Sox are going to try to bolster more pitching, and it wouldn't hurt them if maybe they add another bat. But the pitching. They need more starting help. They need more bullpen help. If they go all in on those fronts, I think their offense as is can carry them, but it wouldn't hurt if they added a depth bat as well. I think the Red Sox have enough to really do something. And as much as the Yankees have whooped the Red Sox ass in recent games, I still trust the Red Sox chances of being a thorn in the Yanks side come playoff time. Because the Yanks have yet to prove anything to me to think otherwise. Regular season does not mean jack you know what. Playoffs is what matters. The Yanks haven't gone past the Red Sox since the early 2000s when we're talking about playoffs. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens there. But with that being said, folks, we're just about going to wrap up the show. So I want to thank everyone so much for chiming in. I hope you guys enjoyed this live show. I know I did. I missed doing conversations like this, just interacting with the chat, talking about all the latest news, rumors regarding the Mets. We'll definitely be doing more stuff like this, like I said, leading up to the trade deadline. We'll be live the day of the trade deadline, probably the day prior to. Any news, any rumors, anything of significance that happens, regardless of where I am, I will do my best to cover it as well. My pants, now I'm going to acknowledge you because we're wrapping out of here. But nonetheless, thank you guys so much for watching. Smash that like and subscribe button. Stay tuned for great content as always, and I'm out of here. I'll see you guys all again very soon. Have a great rest of your night, folks. And Pete Alonso, let's 3-peat, baby.